The girl who sold flowers but bought a future. In a busy town where people were always in a hurry, there lived a girl named Lila. Every morning before sunrise, while most children were still sleeping, Lila walked barefoot to the wholesale flower market with her grandmother. She was only 13 years old. But life had already taught her lessons that many adults never learn. A childhood without choices. Lila never knew her parents well. Her father had passed away when she was 5. Her mother worked in a garment factory in another city and could only visit once a year. So Lila lived with her grandmother in a small rented room near the bus station. Their room had one bed, one stove, and a wooden box that held all their belongings. Every day, they bought fresh flowers and made small garlands. Lila would stand at traffic signals and sell them to drivers. Some people smiled and bought flowers. Some ignored her. Some waved their hands as if she were invisible. But Lila never complained. Because she had a secret dream. She wanted to become a teacher. The notebook in the trash. One afternoon, while walking back from work, Lila saw a torn notebook lying near a garbage bin. Most pages were empty. She picked it up. That night, under a weak bulb in their room, she began writing the alphabet again and again. A, B, C. She had stopped going to school 2 years ago because they could not afford the fees. But she never stopped loving to learn. Her grandmother noticed. "Why are you writing at this hour?" she asked. Lila smiled. "Because one day, I will teach children who cannot go to school." Her grandmother's eyes filled with tears. She didn't know how that would happen. But she believed in her granddaughter. The kind stranger. One evening, while selling flowers at a signal, Lila approached a car where a young woman was waiting for the light to turn green. "Madam, flowers?" Lila asked politely. The woman looked at her and noticed something unusual. Lila was holding a book in one hand. "You read?" the woman asked. "Yes," Lila replied shyly. "I try." The woman introduced herself as Ms. Anika, a school principal. The signal turned green, but something stopped her from driving away. "Where do you study?" she asked. Lila looked down. "I don't, anymore." That answer stayed in Ms. Anika's heart. An unexpected opportunity. The next week, Ms. Anika searched for Lila again. It took days. But she finally found her near the same signal. "I want you to come to my school," Ms. Anika said. Lila was confused. Why? Because education should not depend on money. After speaking with her grandmother, arrangements were made. Lila received free admission under a special program for underprivileged children. She got books, a uniform, a school bag. For the first time in 2 years, she entered a classroom again. The struggle inside the classroom. But going back to school was not easy. Other students whispered. "She sells flowers. She is poor. She doesn't belong here." Lila heard everything. At first, she felt ashamed. She almost stopped raising her hand in class. But one day, during an English lesson, the teacher asked a difficult question. No one answered. Slowly, Lila raised her hand. Her answer was correct. The class went silent. That day, she understood something important. Confidence grows when you stop listening to fear. Working twice as hard. Lila continued selling flowers in the evening to support her grandmother. She studied late at night. She woke up early. She had no private tutor. No internet at home. But she had discipline. Whenever she felt tired, she remembered the children at traffic signals who had never even held a pencil. I am lucky, she told herself. And I must not waste this chance. The test of life. When Lila was in 10th grade, her grandmother fell seriously ill. Hospital bills increased. Medicines were expensive. Lila considered dropping out again. One night, she sat beside her grandmother's bed. I will stop school, she said quietly. We need money. Her grandmother held her hand weakly. No, she whispered. Education is the only wealth we can truly own. Lila cried silently. The next day, she spoke to Ms. Anika. Instead of giving up, the school arranged a small scholarship and part-time library work for her. For the first time, Lila earned money in a clean, quiet place, surrounded by books. It felt like destiny. The big examination. Board exams arrived. Pressure filled the air. Many students attended coaching centers. Lila studied from old notes and borrowed guides. The night before the first exam, electricity went out in their area. Darkness filled the room. Lila lit a small candle. The flame flickered. She protected it with her hands and continued revising. Life will test you, she whispered to herself. But I will not quit. The result that changed everything. 2 months later, results were announced. Lila was too afraid to check. Ms. Anika called her to the office. There was a smile on her face. You did not just pass, she said softly. You are among the top 5 students in the district. Lila stood frozen. Top 5? The girl who sold flowers? Tears rolled down her cheeks. This time, not from pain. But from proof. Proof that hard work speaks louder than background. A dream becomes clearer. Lila received admission to a respected university with full financial aid. She chose education as her major. Because she had never forgotten her promise. University life was challenging. Students came from educated families. They spoke fluent English. They had laptops and resources. Lila felt small again. But she had faced bigger storms. Every time self-doubt appeared, she asked herself, did I survive the traffic signal? The answer was always yes. So she moved forward. The return to the signal. Years later, Lila returned to the same traffic signal, but this time, she was not holding flowers. She was holding a plan. With support from donors and her university network, she started a small evening learning center near the bus station. It began with 5 children. Children who sold balloons, wiped car windows, or carried bags in the market. She taught them reading, writing, and basic math. But more importantly, she taught them self-worth. You are not your poverty, she told them. You are your effort. The ripple effect. Word spread slowly. 5 children became 20. 20 became 50. Local volunteers joined. A small rented room turned into a proper community school. Media covered the story. From flower seller to educator. But Lila always corrected them. I was never just a flower seller, she said. I was always a student. The real success. One evening, a little girl from her learning center handed Lila a drawing. It showed a classroom with many smiling children. Above the board, the little girl had written. Teacher Lila changed my life. Lila looked at the drawing for a long time. She realized something powerful. Success is not about escaping poverty. It is about breaking the cycle for others. The final scene. One sunset, Lila stood at the same traffic signal where she once sold flowers. Cars stopped. Children ran between vehicles. But now, some of those children were her students. They no longer begged. They carried books. She looked up at the red light turning green. Life had once stopped her here. Now, it had moved forward. She smiled gently. I did not just buy a future, she whispered. I built one. And in the noise of the busy town, hope bloomed, just like flowers.